During my grandmother's hospice care, I spent days sleeping in a chair beside her. One night, I found my husband sneaking out to clear his head, only to get a notification of him booking a hotel room with someone else. While I watched my grandmother die, he was starting a new life. I stayed silent, took screenshots, and made sure he got served during her funeral. I'm not sure if this is a revenge story or just the truth finally coming out, but I need to get it out of me. Last year was the worst year of my life, but it's also the year I stopped letting people walk all over me. My name is Danielle, I'm 41, and I live in Naperville, Illinois. That's about 45 minutes outside of Chicago. It's a quiet, middle class, a lot of teachers, nurses, and dads who grill steaks like they're cooking for a Food Network show. I've been married to Rick for 12 years. He's a corporate insurance guy, boring, tidy, thinks Applebee's is fine dining. We don't have kids. That was a sore spot for a while, but life moved on. We were that couple people forget is married because we just looked normal. Boring normal. Things weren't perfect between us, but I thought we were solid. At least, solid enough to get through hard stuff. Like death. My grandmother, Nana, had been my rock since I was a kid. My mom had me young and worked a ton, so Nana basically raised me. She was blunt, smart as hell, and didn't take crap from anyone. She never remarried after my grandfather died because she said, "I already took care of one man in this life, I'm not signing up for another." I didn't know how fast things would go. Nana got diagnosed with stage 4 pancreatic cancer in February. By early March, she was in hospice. I quit my job at the dental office the day she moved in. Nobody asked me to. I just knew I had to be there. I brought my pillow and stayed in that stiff plastic recliner every night next to her bed. Every day, I helped bathe her, helped the nurses change her sheets, combed her hair. She was shrinking right in front of me. Her voice got softer, her hands colder. But sometimes she'd still grip my hand hard and ask for lemon cookies or tell me some weird story about her neighbor in 1968. The brain does funny things when it's dying. Rick barely showed up. At first, I let it go. I figured maybe the place made him uncomfortable. He visited once every few days, and when he did, he'd stand with his back to the machines like they were too loud. He'd bring cheap flowers and leave after 15 minutes. One night, I woke up in the hospice chair. It was around 2:30 a.m. I needed to stretch my legs. I stepped out to the hallway and texted Rick, "Just checking in, you okay?" No reply. That didn't bother me right away. But a few minutes later, my phone dinged. It was a shared calendar notification. We use it to track bill due dates and appointments. But this alert was different. Rick had just booked a hotel room. Spring Hill Suites, Schaumburg, Illinois. The note said reservation confirmed, King Suite, 2 guests. I froze. I clicked into the app. It was under his name. I checked our joint email, there it was. A booking confirmation, timestamped 1:52 a.m. I started shaking. I opened our bank app. A $197 charge to the hotel had already gone through. The worst part? My grandmother was dying in the next room while the man I loved was off somewhere else, with someone else. I stared at the phone for maybe 5 minutes. Then I took screenshots. All of it. Booking confirmation. Bank charge. GPS tracker. Yes, we had one, mostly for safety. But I opened the app and confirmed it. His location pinged exactly where the hotel was. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I walked back in, sat down beside Nana, and held her hand until the sun came up. That was the moment I realized something had changed in me. There was a quiet rage sitting in my chest, but I didn't let it out. Not yet. I just started collecting everything. Over the next week, I watched Rick spiral into whatever life he thought he was starting. He lied constantly, said he was stuck at work late, had conference calls, traffic was bad. Meanwhile, he was booking hotels, going to restaurants, visiting bars, all logged on his card and our shared apps. I didn't confront him. I didn't want to give him a warning. Nana was still alive, and I couldn't leave her. I had to be there when she left this world. That final week, she barely spoke. She just looked at me, sometimes blinked, sometimes squeezed my hand. The nurses said it could happen any hour, or any day. I didn't sleep much. I was terrified I'd miss her last words. She passed away early Monday morning. 4:06 a.m. I was right there. Her chest rose one last time, and then it didn't again. She went out peaceful. Quiet. No drama. But everything after that? That was not peaceful. I called my cousin Rachel that afternoon. She's a divorce lawyer in Chicago. I told her everything. She didn't even ask twice. I sent her all the screenshots, GPS logs, receipts, texts, calendar alerts. She built a file the size of a phone book. Then we made a plan. The funeral was Saturday. I let Rick help plan it. He ordered a big flower arrangement with both our names on it. He gave a short speech about how Nana always welcomed him into the family. He cried on cue. He hugged people. I almost threw up. What he didn't know was that Rachel had hired a process server. We coordinated the location, time, everything. After the final prayer, people were standing around, tossing flowers onto the casket. My mom was crying. My aunt was talking about bringing everyone back to her house for food. Then a guy in a navy windbreaker stepped forward. "Rick Brenner," he said. Rick looked confused. "Yeah?" The man handed him an envelope. "You've been served. Divorce, full financial disclosure, and asset freeze notification." Rick blinked like someone had slapped him. He turned and looked at me. "Are you King serious right now? During a funeral?" I didn't raise my voice. I just stared him down and said, "I figured it was the only time you'd be standing still and not in a hotel room." There was a dead silence. Then someone gasped. Then my cousin Rachel gave a tiny laugh. Rick looked like he wanted to yell, but he didn't. Probably because half of Nana's church friends were standing 10 feet away. He stormed off, envelope in hand. And I stood there, next to my grandmother's casket, finally feeling like I'd done something right. But that wasn't the end. There's more. There always is. After the funeral, I thought Rick would just crawl away quietly. Maybe go shack up with whatever woman he was seeing. But I should have known better. Rick doesn't like losing. Especially not in front of a crowd. 2 days after the funeral, I came home from Nana's house, where we were sorting through her things, and found our front door wide open. He'd let himself in. He was sitting at the kitchen table, papers spread out in front of him. My divorce petition, bank statements, and, this really pissed me off, one of Nana's photo albums that I'd brought home. He was flipping through it like he had a right to anything in it. "You're seriously doing this?" he said without looking up. I dropped my keys on the counter. "Get out." "It was one night, Danielle." "No, it wasn't," I said. I pulled out my phone. "Do you want me to list the dates? Or just read off the hotel names?" He stood up fast, like he wanted to intimidate me. Rick's not a big guy, but he knows how to puff up when he wants to. "I've had a rough year too," he snapped. "But you've been so focused on her, you didn't even notice us falling apart." I laughed. "Couldn't help it. You were cheating while I was holding her hand and watching her die. You think this is about us falling apart?" He grabbed the photo album and shoved it into his bag. "I'm taking what's mine." "That's not yours," I said, stepping in front of him. "It's from my house," he said, like that settled it. I stared him down. "Take one more step with that bag and I call the police." We stood there for a long second. Then he dropped the bag on the floor and left, slamming the door behind him so hard it cracked the wall. That was just the start of the next phase, Rick fighting dirty. He tried to drain our joint savings account. Didn't work, Rachel had already frozen it. He tried to move out some furniture while I was gone one afternoon, except I'd installed a security camera over the garage. He tried calling my mom to talk some sense into me. She told him to go to hell. Then he got desperate. 2 weeks later, I got a letter from his lawyer. Rick was requesting spousal compensation because I had neglected the marriage for months. He wanted money. From me. After everything. Rachel laughed out loud when she read it. But I didn't. Because I knew Rick. He was the kind of man who hated being humiliated. And I'd humiliated him. A week later, I got proof he was still seeing the same woman. Her name was Kara. She was 29. Worked at his office. He must have thought I'd given up watching him, but I hadn't. I had a private investigator now. Rachel's contact. Kara had been at every hotel. She was the one in the brunch photos. She even posted a photo of Rick's dog on her Instagram. I wasn't done. I'd gone quiet, but I wasn't done. I started pulling everything I could. I called the HR department at his firm. Not to blow up his life, yet, but to ask general questions about office relationships, policies, things like that. They got real interested real fast when I mentioned the name Kara. Apparently, Rick had been her supervisor. Now it wasn't just cheating. It was an ethics violation. Next, I went after the one thing Rick really cared about, his image. He loved looking good in front of his coworkers, his family, our friends. He wanted to be the guy who had his life together. But I started talking. Not publicly, not in a screaming match. Just little conversations. Quiet truths. I had screenshots. Dates. Receipts. Locations. Turns out, most people don't feel too sympathetic when they hear a man was cheating while his wife was taking care of her dying grandmother. He started losing friends. His brothers stopped calling. His coworkers started avoiding him at happy hour. I heard Kara got reassigned to another team. Rick showed up at my house again a month after the funeral. He looked tired. Hair messy. He wasn't wearing his loafers. I made mistakes, he said. No, I told him. You made choices. He tried to cry. I didn't flinch. I lost everything, he said. I crossed my arms. Not yet. And I meant it. Because I still had cards to play. The divorce wasn't finalized. The HR case wasn't over. Nana's estate had just gone into probate, and Rick had accidentally taken something that wasn't his, a necklace she wore in every photo from the 1950s. I had plans for that, too. After that day he showed up looking like a wet dog begging for sympathy. I didn't see Rick for a while. But things were moving behind the scenes. The HR investigation at his job wasn't just a slap on the wrist. Once they found out he was Kara's direct supervisor during their little hotel spree, things got serious. They interviewed coworkers. Someone must have leaked the hotel details, because Rick was placed on administrative leave pending review. Kara, from what I heard, tried to play the victim. Said she didn't know he was married. Said he told her we were basically separated. I wasn't even mad at her. She was naive, maybe selfish, but she wasn't the one who promised me loyalty. That was all Rick. What made it worse was what came next. A week after the HR call, I got a notification from an unfamiliar number with a message that read, "Thought you should know who you're really married to." Attached were several screenshots. Conversations between Rick and Kara. He'd been talking trash about me to her since January, 2 months before Nana even went into hospice. Stuff like, "She's cold. Hasn't touched me in months. She's obsessed with her grandma, it's weird. I think she wants her to die just so she can feel like a martyr." That last one? I read it 3 times and still couldn't believe it. I stared at that message for a long time. Then I sent it to Rachel. She added it to the divorce file. But something started eating at me. It wasn't just the betrayal anymore. It was the way he was still trying to manipulate everyone. Telling different stories to different people, rewriting what happened to make himself the victim. I started getting messages from people he used to know. A friend from college told me Rick had done something similar to a girl back then, cheated, lied, painted her out to be crazy when she confronted him. Another woman he briefly dated before me reached out and said, "I always wondered what happened to you. I'm sorry." He's a pro at acting hurt. It made me realize this wasn't new. I just hadn't seen it until now. The final straw came when I visited Nana's lawyer. She'd left me a sealed envelope with instructions to open it once the estate was in probate. I thought it'd be a letter, maybe a memory, something sweet. Inside were 3 things: a check for $15,000 made out to me, a copy of her will, with one paragraph circled in red ink, a handwritten note that said, "If Rick tries to touch any of this, bury him. You have my blessing." I burst out laughing in the lawyer's office. It was the first real laugh I'd had in weeks. The circled paragraph was her leaving her wedding ring and a sapphire brooch to me, items Rick had taken from her dresser the day he stormed out and claimed he was taking what's his. They were now legally mine. I filed a police report. Technically, Rick had stolen from the estate of a deceased person. That's a crime. The officer I spoke to didn't look surprised when I said his name. He even said, "Didn't he used to volunteer for that real estate scam nonprofit?" Apparently, Rick had a reputation around town. I'd just never asked the right questions before. The investigation picked up steam. Between the HR mess, the theft report, and the mounting evidence of financial misconduct in our accounts, yes, he'd tried to hide a separate bank account, sloppy, Rick was cornered. But I still had one more move. Nana's will included a clause about a donation to a local hospice charity in her name. It was the same place that took care of her in those last weeks. She wanted the money to go to a memorial garden. I called the charity and told them I'd like to cover the full cost of the donation myself, $15,000 from the check Nana gave me. But I had one request: I wanted a plaque in the garden. Just a small one. Something simple. In loving memory of Maria F., cherished grandmother. Betrayal dies. Love doesn't. They agreed. It wasn't about being poetic. It was about being permanent. Rick had tried to erase what I had, what Nana gave me. Now he'd see her name every time he walked near that garden. Every time he heard about it in the community newsletter. Every time someone asked him about the story behind it. And the best part? His company had been a sponsor of that same charity for years. Karma was starting to ripple outward. But the end hadn't come yet. Rick was unraveling. And I wasn't done. I didn't expect the final blow to come from Kara. But it did. 3 weeks after I funded the memorial garden, I got a message request on Facebook. It was her. All it said was, "Do you want to ruin him together?" I ignored it at first. But curiosity won. I replied, "Why?" She sent back a voice message. In it, she sounded embarrassed and bitter. She said Rick had started pulling away from her after I served the divorce papers. Told her he was confused and not ready for commitment. The same lines he probably fed every woman he'd lined up before. He had ghosted her for almost 2 weeks, then told her she ruined his life. Then he tried to get her to lie to HR, told her to say she initiated everything and that he didn't know she worked under him. She refused. And they fired him. Rick lost his job 2 days later. Apparently, someone inside HR leaked the full report. Rick had been cheating with multiple women at the office over the years, not just Kara. He was good at covering his tracks until now. But he was slipping. And his arrogance had finally caught up to him. I didn't even need to do anything. He did it to himself. But Kara? She wanted more. She still had emails, photos, and messages Rick sent her, some from his work email, which violated his contract. She asked me if I wanted to forward them to his licensing board for insurance adjusters. I thought about it. Then I said no. I'm done, I told her. He's already burning. Instead, I gave her Rachel's number and said, if you ever need to sue him, she's your girl. I meant it. Meanwhile, Rick was trying to delay the divorce settlement. His lawyer quit after Rick tried to pay him in installments. Rachel crushed his next attorney in mediation. We got the house, the car, and full rights to Nana's estate. Rick got whatever was left in his personal checking account. $613.47. That necklace he stole? Returned under police pressure. The photo album? Still missing. I let it go. I had copies. He couldn't touch the memories, no matter how hard he tried. But here's where karma finished the job. 6 months after our divorce was finalized, Rick showed up on a local Facebook community page. Not by choice. Someone posted a photo of him sitting in a truck parked crooked in a handicap spot outside of a gas station. The caption said, "This guy parked like this and cursed at the cashier when they asked him to move." People piled on. I didn't comment. I didn't need to. But the next day, I got a text from an unknown number. All it said was, "You happy now?" I replied, "More than ever." That was the last time he ever reached out. I moved out of the house 3 months later and bought a small place closer to the edge of town. It's nothing special. 2 bedrooms, small porch, garden in the back where I planted Nana's tulips. But it's mine. I got a job working at the same hospice where Nana passed. I help organize care plans and sit with families who are doing exactly what I did, holding someone's hand as they slip away. Some days I cry with them. Some days I don't. But I always remember what Nana told me before she passed: don't let them walk over you, sweetheart. I didn't. And here's the truth, I made mistakes too. I trusted someone I shouldn't have. I ignored red flags. I thought loyalty was enough to hold a marriage together. It wasn't. But I didn't get revenge with screaming matches or breaking things. I let truth, silence, and consequences do the work for me. Rick lit the match. I just stood there and watched him burn everything down. And when the ashes settled, I walked away clean. I didn't just survive. I won.